In this lesson, we'll be talking about unit rates. By the end of the lesson, you should be able to identify the unit rate and understand that rate of change and slope are the same. So unit rate is when we compare two quantities like distance and time. And we use two different units of measurements like meters and second. When we write a unit rate, the second quantity is always per one. So when you see the word unit, you should think per one. So our rate of change is that constant rate that doesn't fluctuate. When we have a straight line, that means we have a constant rate of change. Rate of change is the same as slope, so we find it by taking the change in y over the change in x, and make sure that you have it in simplest form. So in this example with the motorcycle and the gas, we're going to take the change in y, which means it went down 2, over the change in x, which is 100, we would get 2 over 100, which is negative 150. You can see that it's negative slope. In here, we can choose any 2 points that we want, and you will notice that it's going to go up 40 and over 30 minutes. So our slope is 4/3. So for example, Karen walks 15 meters in 3 seconds. What is her walking rate? So I want to know meters per 1 second. So I'm going to take the 15 over the 3 and simplify that, and it would be 5 meters per second. So if she's walking at this rate, how long does it take her to walk 100 meters? So we'll take the 100 meters divided by the 5 per second, and it's going to take her 20 seconds. She walks at this same rate for 50 seconds. How far does she walk? Well, we'll take the 50 seconds times the 5 meters per second, and we would get 500 meters. So write an equation that represents the distance that Hoshi walks in t seconds. So that would be d equals 5t. Jelani is walking race at his school. In the first 20 seconds, he walks 60 meters. In the next 30 seconds, he walks 60 meters. In the next 10 seconds, he walks 35 meters. And in the last 40 seconds, he walks 80 meters. Complete the table to find the walking rate and then graph the time and distance. So 20 seconds, 60 meters means that he walked 3 meters per second. 30 seconds for 60 meters means he walked 2 minutes per second. 10 seconds for 35 is 3.5 meters per second. And 40 seconds for 80 meters is 2 meters per second. So we do not have a constant rate of change. Let's look and see what the graph looks like. So it says after 20 seconds he's walked 60. He walks another 30 seconds, so at 50 seconds he's walked 120. He walks another 10 seconds for 35 meters, and then he walks 40 seconds and he's up to 235. So if we graph that on those points, you can see that we're not going to get a perfectly straight line because he does not have a constant rate of change. So what is the unit rate? Remember, unit rate means per one. So if we have 100 apples picked and you have 10 baskets, how many is in each basket? Well, that's 10 apples per one basket. If you can go 60 miles on a bike and you have 3 hours to ride, what is the unit rate? 20 miles per 1 hour, 60 divided by 3. You have 200 students in a classroom, but you have 10 classrooms. How many in one classroom? It would be 20 students per one class. You have 60 baseball players and 5 teams. How many is on one team? We have 12 players per one team. So the unit rate is per one. Should you simplify it? Always.